sweet peas, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another Thursday video. 2.5 years after being in this property, let's finally share the renovations that we did. Can you believe that Jamie and I have lived here for nearly that long now? My mum is a big believer of making your house a home and putting like your stamp on it, and I definitely think that we've done that. We haven't done like major things, no extensions or anything like that, but this was our first property. Like, we had the flat before, but it's a little bit different. It's our first property where we haven't had like a flatmate throughout the whole time. We renovated the kitchen, we redid the bathroom, we just, I don't know, it felt really cool and very adulty, and I'm just excited to share it with you. Okay, I'm excited. So yeah, I thought I'd take you room by room. I found the footage from 2 years ago where I like very shakily showed each room before we did very much to it. So I got some comparisons for you. I wanted to explain as we went throughout how we did things on a budget. So yeah, let's get started. First, the hallway. We had a giant dark brown cabinet that we bought because we had a lot of shoes and we got it second hand. Unfortunately, when we brought it back, we realised that it wasn't quite right for what we wanted. A lot of shoe cabinets only hold about like 8 pairs. You'll notice we have a lot of shoes and I didn't want to have like the metal long ones out because they didn't look as clean as I wanted them to. So I actually built the custom shoe benches that we have now. I did that with some nails, a lot of wood glue, and some basic benches and skirting board material that I found from B&Q. The whole thing in all cost us about £35, including the glue and nails. A little bit of creativity, and it doesn't take that much talent or skill, like it's just straight lines and yeah, went a long way. What I like about these as opposed to normal shoe racks as well is that they've got a top, so it looks clean, they're the right depth just for the shoe but to maximise the space that we have in the hallway, and you can also sit on them. The cat loves to sit on them as well. So yeah, they're just very handy. We also put up a big mirror because mirrors open up the space, make it feel a lot bigger. We picked up some homely prints and put a little shelf in with like a letter rack on it, and we also created a little food area properly for Apollo. Finally, and probably the biggest change in this area was the flooring. We ripped up the carpets and we got someone to come in and put down a hard grey floor. For those of you who own cats, you know that cat hair and carpets do not go very well together, and you don't really want your guests coming in and just smelling cat pee for the first time, which is something we had to do because we had this built-in foot mat thing at the front, footy matty thing, and the cat just decided he liked to pee on it. And we can't really clean it out of that. We were like, oh no! They're also like not the trendiest things to have. So we got rid of that and we put a movable floor matty thing down. They must have a name. Is it just floor mat? Doormats! Doormats, there we go, doormats. Yes, all of those changes, specifically the flooring, I think makes a huge difference to how it feels when you come into the property. Now onto the front room. So before I show you the front room, we live in a townhouse, which means we actually have 3 floors, 3 stories of living space. Townhouses are normally very long and thin, which ours is, and because of the layout, they tend to have a dining room and a kitchen on the downstairs floor and a living room on the middle floor. But we really didn't like the idea of having a living room on a separate floor to the kitchen. So we sacrificed having a dining room and we made the dining room our living room. It does mean that it's a bit smaller than a normal living space, but there's just the 2 of us plus the cat, and it still works when we have friends over, so we don't mind too much. Coming from a flat as well, we were very used to having large open spaces. I loved this because I love the openness feel. Jamie didn't like it as much, particularly because we have a cat. What it meant that when our front room was also our kitchen, we couldn't shut the kitchen off, so we couldn't keep the cat away from any leftover food. So naturally, when I thought about reworking this space, I wanted to just get rid of all the walls on the bottom floor. I wanted to make a little hallway area, but then keep the rest completely open. So the stairs, the kitchen, the front room area was all one giant space, and Jamie was very not keen on that idea. So instead we compromised and we settled for Shaaba's hole. You know what, instead of explaining, I'm going to show it to you first and then go through it. Now do you see it? Do you understand the hole? It's like a really big serving hatch, and I love it, and Jamie actually loves it too now. It opens the space up so much, provides natural light because we've got it from both the back doors coming through and also the front window going into the kitchen. It creates a far more sociable space, and it means that when we have friends over, people can sit in like the breakfast bar area, the kitchen and the front room, and we can all still feel like we're in the same space. The hole is definitely perfect for opening up the space and bringing light into the room. It did look a little bit like rough around the edges when we just first had it done and plastered, like it didn't look quite right. So what I did was paint the inside of the hole a contrasting grey colour, just a little subtle difference to make it seem like it's there on purpose. And we bought online a custom sized glass plate to put on the bottom to sort of frame it a little bit, and it made a world of difference. The plate itself was only £30. We also almost inverted the colours of the front room. The previous owners had a very dark blue wall and we had a light coloured sofa, and what we did is we switched those out. So we created a nude pink wall, a lovely little moon print on there, and we also got a dark blue sofa instead. The sofa was pretty expensive. It's a French Connection sofa and it's probably the most expensive piece of furniture that we own. What I will say though is that sofas are completely worth spending a little bit more on because it's comfortable, because you spend a lot of time there, and we managed to get ours on a 0% finance thingy. So you have the sofa and you pay for it monthly throughout the year, but you don't actually pay any interest on it, so it just makes it a lot more manageable instead of putting out a giant expense. It's definitely worth considering if you don't think you can splash out on a giant piece of furniture, because I mean, come on, who really can these days? Because we don't have a dining table in our front room, we also got from IKEA a gate leg table, which is this little white thing that sits next to our sofa, and it means that when guests come, we can pull it out like this, boop, and it's enough space for at least 8 people to sit around. Yeah, just a little space saving technique. I think the table's like just over £100 from IKEA, but some people do sell them secondhand too. We did keep our TV area the same, which is a little clunky. It isn't the perfect space for a TV, but I didn't want to get a corner unit. We also swapped the curtains that the previous owners had left behind for grey, neutral, clean blinds, and we switched out our bookshelf for some white floating shelves, which I just think looks a lot better. So now onto the kitchen, which I am just so proud of. I loved this experience. When we were doing this kitchen renovation, we were honestly without a kitchen for about 6 months. It doesn't normally take that long, but it did for us because I really, really wanted a new kitchen, but we couldn't afford the normal kitchen rates and the normal builder's rates that come with kitchens. We just didn't have the money. But we did it on a budget, and one of the byproducts of that meant that I had to help out a lot more, which I was totally fine with doing. It was a great fun learning experience. And it meant we got it for cheaper, it just took a little bit longer. We had a builder in like a family-friendly network who we didn't know very well, but who was willing to negotiate down on a price providing that we helped out a little bit. But I am very happy to learn. Jamie and I both gutted the entire old kitchen out ourselves. Both also shopped around and we found some really nice grey flooring from Wix. We fitted that ourselves as well, cut them down to shape. We also built the units ourselves, we did the wall tiling ourselves and the grouting. We sourced the worktops ourselves, brought them in, and I also did a bit of the piping work, which was the most technical, but also the most useful to know. Because from that knowledge, I can now do little things that normally we'd have to call a plumber in for, so yay! All in all, the whole kitchen renovations, including the whole, cost us under £5,000. So you can do it can happen. It's just about shopping around and doing as much of it as you can yourself. That really is all it was. The sink, for example, we had these horrific sinks before. There was like one round sink and a separate draining board, which meant that water was just going everywhere. But sinks are relatively expensive. I actually found one secondhand. Well, it was secondhand, but it wasn't secondhand. It was brand new and actually still in its packaging. From a lady in a caravan park who bought it but didn't end up using it. And so she was selling it on for £25. £25! So if you just shop around, there are things that you can find everywhere. Similarly, when we were doing our kitchen, Homebase was shutting down, so we went to go and take a look at all of the sales that they had on, and that's where we found our tiles quite cheap. So yeah. Anyway, now I'm going to show you what it used to look like and what it looks like now. Because we'd put the hole in, it meant that we had to move where the hob was initially, which was completely fine for me. It also meant that I had the opportunity to plug up the gas and get an induction hob, which are more energy efficient, just as easy to control, and also a lot safer. So I was quite happy for that. With the extra space that we now had under the hole, we installed half-deep cupboards, which meant that they were still useful for storage, but also had space to stick some bar stools underneath, so we had a little breakfast bar. And we also swapped out that wonderful lime green for greys and blues, and gave everything a white and a coppery finish with things like our knife set and our kettle and our fridge magnets, and my sisters decorated these. I wholly approve of their wording choice. So budget tips, as I said, shop around, and also don't skimp out on certain things. We actually got the initial worktops that we had from Homebase, and when they were delivered we were like, oh no, these are so terrible. Like, they were already chipping. You really want to make sure that they are well protected, because if they get too much water in where it's not supposed to go, they'll expand and bust and you have to just replace them anyway. But we shopped around, we found it was rather painful to bring them back, like to organise that delivery, but we found a little local company that did worktops, only worktops, and we actually ended up choosing a kitchen because of that, based on this worktop that we absolutely loved, that we would never have picked in a magazine, but we really love it now. And it worked out to be the exact same price. So just because something is local and a little bit like boutique-y doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be really expensive. But it can mean you get much higher quality. Shop around. The other thing that I would suggest is don't waste any materials. Our main cupboards, for example, where we hold our crockery, like our plates and stuff, came with glass shelves, but it also came with the traditional white shelves that go inside a cupboard. And I didn't want to throw the white shelves away, so I was like, what can I do with these? So we actually ended up making them, like cutting them down to size and putting them in between two cupboards. And we now use those to store things like our cocktail shaker, our teas, our little jams. It's actually a very British shelf and I absolutely love it. And it's a feature of the kitchen that we didn't plan, but actually I'm really happy with. So, you know, little things like that can just make it a bit fun and creative. Anyway, enough about the kitchen, I'll take you upstairs. Going upstairs, we kept the hallway pretty much exactly the same. The whole hallway here is painted like a little off pink and it kind of bugs me. Like, I would love for them to just be brilliant white or like an almond white at least, but I cannot be bothered to paint our entire hallway on all 3 floors. That is a lot of painting. So we just haven't gone around to that. Jamie really wanted this print up of us from our engagement party, which I do think is a very nice photo, but it just kind of feels a little bit diva-y to have like a big photo of just us. And we also picked up this tiny little bed, which was intended to be for Polo. He did use it for like a few nights, but naturally, because he's a cat and therefore a complete butthole, he hasn't used it at all since. In true cat form, he preferred the box that the bloody bed came in, but this was from IKEA, and it was actually from the doll section in the kids area. Don't judge me, it works. Yeah, I just think it's a cute little addition, and we keep things like his little hoodie and his toys underneath. So now, our spare room. It was an absolute mess when we first came in. It's where we stuck all of our boxes. Our lovely friend Stefan actually stayed in that spare room for a little bit of time, just for a few months, but it was really fun. And actually have to have mad props for Stefan, because he made this house move like we wouldn't have been able to do it as we did without him. He helped us with painting, he helped us with building, he helped us with bringing stuff to and from. Oh, just love him so much. Even though he wasn't here for too long. It's okay though, because he still lives relatively close by, so you know, still see him a lot. Anyway, we now have that spare room as exactly that, just like a spare room. Everyone has like a bits and bobs area, right? So ours holds a wardrobe, a little sofa that pulls out into like a guest bed, our little gaming area, so we've got like a TV and stuff, and it's also where we hang out the washing. The TV that we got in there was also second hand. I picked it up from an online marketplace and it was only £100, which for that size was really good. It's because it had a tiny little pixel in the top left hand corner, which it still has, but we don't see it when we're gaming, so it's perfect. We also keep our work equipment in here, so it's kind of become like Jamie's little man cave. It's got his little canvas with all of the Marvel comics on and the little PlayStation sign, but I love it. On to the bathroom. We didn't plan on changing the bathroom, but we kind of had to when we were doing the kitchen renovations, because we realised as we were putting the spotlights in that there was a leak coming from up top. Got a plumber in to take a look at the leak, and because our shower head, that was very short at the time as well, was sort of coming off of a fake wall, it turns out that the tiling wasn't done very well, and so the MDF board behind it had completely rotten, and all of the water from the shower was going behind it and down into our kitchen ceiling. And we were like, well. It's really annoying when things like that happen too, because when people sell you houses, they don't tell you about all the defects that are wrong with it, and it's just so frustrating because it's like a doodad that we didn't expect to have to fix, but then cost more money, and we were like, wah! But it's fine. The upside was it meant that we could change the shower head, so we have this beautiful, large, powerful one now that Jamie can actually fit underneath because it's tall enough. And whilst we technically didn't have to, I just took it as an opportunity to change the bath out, because I'm not so fond of the tiling of the bathroom. The tiling actually went up the bath and I was like, ugh! So we got rid of that, put a new bath in that is just white and plain, and I think it's a tiny change, but it looks a little bit better. We also took the opportunity to just get a new sink. I wasn't fond of the sink that was there, and the fact that there was absolutely no storage either underneath or on top. It was just like a mirror and just like sink legs. Well, a single leg. So we went to IKEA. Can you tell that we love IKEA? And we found this sink, which I just really liked, like the whole ensemble. It's like a square, like a rectangle sink, which means that there's so much space and it's much easier to clean because it's just like this, as opposed to having all of these bumpy bits. Also had a cupboard underneath, a storage unit, hi Polo. And we also picked up a cabinet that had a mirror. So we still kept the mirror, but it just meant that we could store things inside there too. That whole ensemble was under £100, so much prettier. It's so much easier to clean and has a lot more storage. And again, we have our little homely touches. Also this tiny little print, which we picked up from a hand painter when we went to Taormina in Sicily. Jamie conquered one of his biggest fears that day. We went on a boat ride, just the two of us, and obviously the guide, and Jamie absolutely hates like travel, so that was a really big deal for him, and it was one of the most fun experiences that we had, so we had to get something to, you know. Now onto the bedroom. You can take a look at it first. So as you can see, we swapped out the curtains, which were at different heights because one's a balcony and one is just a window, to having two symmetrical, equal in length grey curtains, which I think looks a lot better. We also painted the walls a brilliant white and popped up a TV. We also painted the wall behind our bed a pinky colour, and I just wanted to tie that into the room a little bit more. So I painted things like our shelves the same shade of pink, which we use to store all of our beauty little thingy bits. Again, we have a lot of little homely touches like candles and these cute little Polaroids that go in between our curtains on some fairy lights. And these were the Polaroids that Jamie actually used to propose to me with, so I always feel really happy when I see them. And we also changed our bed. Beforehand we had a wooden frame and it was just empty space underneath, but now we have a divan one which has two drawers on either side, perfect for storage. It's a little bit higher and it's a softer headboard, which I think just looks a little bit better. And we got better tasting bed sheets. The final thing that I wanted to point out in the bedroom were these beautiful wardrobes. Now I promise you this is not a spawn from IKEA. I'd love a spawn from IKEA, but I do highly recommend the Pax wardrobe range. They're super duper cheap and hugely customizable. So we actually got these glass fronted ones that fit the entire length of our side wall. There's like a few inches on one side, but we use it to just store our little extra chairs, and the whole wardrobe itself is customizable on the inside too. So we have our own little shelves in different areas. We have this amazing trouser rack that pulls out, and I'm pretty sure the trouser rack itself is only like 15 to 30 pounds. So it's all super cost effective, especially for something that's customizable. So what I love about the house so far is that if the tour ended here, that is it. It is just a normal 2-story house. But upstairs now, the whole top floor is our workspace. I like the fact that it's got that divide because we work from home. It also means that if we ever have business people coming around, we can shut the doors to our normal living area and just be like, go straight up. It's got an ensuite and everything. We can hide the messy stuff. We can maintain our sense of personal home life and privacy. I just love it. The downside is 2 sets of stairs, so if you leave things like your charger in the front room and you're up in the study, or if you want a glass of water or something, it's like ah. So, to the study. Technically this is the master bedroom of the house. Obviously we don't use it for that way, but what I love about it is it means it's a nice big space that we can have 2 desks in. I'll let you see it first. So as you can see now, we have joint chairs, surprise surprise, also from IKEA. I also chose the overall colour scheme for the room to be blue and yellow with some accents of gold, because blue and yellow are supposed to be colours that inspire things like success and productivity and happiness, which is just what you need for an office environment. On one side of the wall, where there were like 3 small shelves before, we actually made one huge long line of shelves right at the top. We also had to redo the other shelves because they were a little bit wonky from the previous owners. I also significantly upgraded my desk area, got another screen and some extra hardware, and we made our 2 shelves largely decorative. Having that giant shelf across the top also meant that we could get rid of the bookcase on the other side of the room, which was storing things like our books and notebooks, and it made space for us to have a whiteboard, which we use all the time for brainstorming things like video ideas. We also bought another cat tower for Polo to use here, which is really important because he just loves being in the same area as us, and if we're in there all day, he should have a space too. And whilst the filming room was supposed to be the space where we'd have Jamie's chair too, we actually changed the filming room up because we bought our sofa that was initially on the bottom floor of the property all the way up to the top floor, and so we moved Jamie's sunshine throne from the filming room into the study. He liked the contrast wall thing too. I think it's because I did it here. He just copies me. And I am going to show you the filming room, which is the final room, in just a second. But before I do, I have a funny story to tell you about this blank canvas. So this canvas was actually the very first thing that I planned before we even moved into this house. I was like, oh, it's gonna look so good. We're gonna have a joint study area, joint desks, and right in the front, in the middle, when people walk in, the first thing they're gonna see, whenever we walk in, first thing in the morning, I'm gonna see this giant frame I'm gonna design that just says, get shit done. How productive, how cool, how quirky, how trendy would that be? I was so excited to do that, and 2.5 years down the line, I bought the frame. But I just haven't gotten around to making the print. Can you believe it? The print that's supposed to tell you to get things done, I have not done. Anyway, it just became such a running joke, and after a while I was just like, you know what? I actually like it just being a blank canvas. Like, I know that sounds so silly, but because of the story behind it, it's like a bittersweet irony to get things done because you weren't able to get that done. We do get a lot done. So now, onto the final room of the house, the filming room, the one that we're in right now. When I first filmed the clips 2 years ago, we hadn't done much to it except put the piano in, but this is what we've done with it now. I wanted a backdrop that was quite simple but also sort of unique, and I'd not seen anyone do this diagonal line before, so I used some masking tape to just paint a big diagonal line with some pink paint that I found from B&Q. That reveal would have been so much cooler if I wasn't already filming in here, but there you go. Another fun story that's actually not so fun at all. I actually had to paint all of these walls white before I put that pink on across all 4 walls, which I did one night by myself. I was so damn tired, came in the next day and it was literally peeling off. Like in big slabs, the paint was just coming off. Apparently walls do that sometimes. So I then had to go across the whole thing again, paint it with this sugar water mix, and then put the paint back on. And oh my goodness, it was a chore, but it was worth it. It is a lovely little room. Again, we put the same colour and style blinds here that we have throughout the property. Having this giant sofa here also means that it pulls out into a double bed, so it's a great guest room for when we have extra guests over, or also whenever we just want to have movie nights, because I also accentuated the music areas in this room with the shelf, having my guitar hung up on the wall with my little pride wings, and also the piano area where we then added a TV so that I could do things like chords and notes, but also so that we can watch movies whenever we're up here. It's like a second living space. One of my favourite things about this whole house is not something that we ever would have bought ourselves, but it's this treble clef that I have on top of the piano. For those of you who may not know, Jamie and I have gone through a whole roller coaster in terms of our relationship journey. We've had so many ups and downs in terms of acceptance and being kicked out and family stuff, and it all came to like a beautiful little head at our engagement party that happened just after Christmas 2017. My mum, who had not accepted our relationship for a very long time, at the engagement party brought this little treble clef mosaic piece in a little bag, and she gave it to us, and she was like, I want you to see this as a physical representation of the harmony that we're going to have in our lives as a family moving forward. How freaking cute is that? I loved it so much. We had a huge joint hug, there were a few tears, and now it sits proudly on top of my piano. So there we have it. That is our house. Be nice, be kind. Honestly, I really love what we've done with the place. We've gone for much more muted colours than we did in the flat beforehand. We've got some thoughtful little homely touches and accessories, and I absolutely loved the experience of going through a kitchen renovation and just sticking some holes in some walls and stuff. One thing that I particularly love as well is because it's a townhouse, it's got 3 floors, it feels like you get so much more living space. And it's just so flexible with what you can do with the structure. We have our living room on the downstairs. Some people might want it on the upstairs. Some people can have bedrooms on the downstairs. Like, it's completely up to you, and I really like that. So has this helped you at all? Has it given you any tips on how to do things on a budget? Do you have any other tips you'd like to share with everyone, including myself, on how to make changes on a budget? Please do pop downstairs and let us know. I am definitely excited to do things like upcycle and build a bit more. I'd love to do things like building my own dining table and that sort of thing, but that's definitely gonna have to wait until the next move because there's just not enough space here. Do comment below and let me know if there was anything that you really liked about what we've done. I would love to know. If you did enjoy the video, do give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and do share your tips on home renovation so the whole pod can see. I will catch you on Monday with another video, but for now, be kind and have a great day. Bye!